Yes, sir.
So start.
As in 5 minutes about myself.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Dr. Snigdha Arora. I graduated from HPT Medical College and Dr. Aaron Cooper Hospital in 2024. I live in a joint family. My father works in the healthcare industry. So does my brother. My mother is a homemaker, and my nephew is 3 years old. While so throughout my academic journey, I have been a very studious child, which is why I came second in my school as well, and I managed to get a reasonable rank of 5584 in the All India as an All India rank in NEET UG exam, which actually helped me get admission into MBBS. During MBBS, I actually went beyond books. I joined the Public Relations and Marketing Committee. I became the head of the committee, and as the head of the committee, we actually garnered sponsorship for the event. We held collaborative events with the digital streaming platforms. I did that. Other than that, I was also a member of the Medical Student Association of India and the Indian Medical Student Association, Asia Medical Student Association. As a part of these associations, we held uh, uh, awareness programs. So we would actually hold, we would probably go to a school or some houses in the churches, or during COVID, we held some online programs whereby we created awareness about things like water sanitation, ill effects of tobacco consumption, or sexual and reproductive health and its importance. So we did that. Other than that, after I've graduated, I have also been working with Takshil Foundation. It's an NGO that actually helps students of students from first until 12th standard of underprivileged children. It's sort of like an extra class for them. So I teach English to 8th standard children over there over the weekends. And my hobbies include dancing. I have trained for a few months in a dance style called jazz funk, which is basically traditional jazz imposed on modern songs. I have also been training in a dance form called heels, and as and when I get the opportunity, I uh, go for commercial dance workshops. Other than that, I also enjoy cooking in my leisure time. Mostly, I try to bake goods like cookies and biscuits, but I try to make healthier alternatives. So I don't follow a set recipe per se, but I just switch ingredients to make them a little healthier. Um, so that is what I do. Um, Other than that, I think my strengths include the fact that I am very focused as a person, which has translated in the marks that I have gotten over the years. And uh, so I am very target oriented. If I have a target in mind, I set to achieve it. Um, Other than that, I do know how to manage my time well. That is something that I have learned through the course of MBBS, because even though the whole exam pattern and the vivas are very grilling, and there is a lot to study and a lot to work on as I did during my internship, I did manage to take out time for myself where I actually worked on my hobbies. That being said, I do realize that sometimes I tend to put a lot of focus on myself, and I tend to hold very high expectations from myself. And when they don't happen that way, sometimes I do tend to lose confidence. But that is when I have realized that I need to introspect and understand if the situation that actually went wrong was in my hand or was something that is just circumstantial, and how I can improve on myself. So yeah, that's pretty much about myself.
Carry on. Strength, weakness,
Okay.
specialization.
Okay, so I know that it is a little controversial, but I want to do an MBA after an MBBS, because during my MBBS, I actually interacted with a lot of people during my community medicine posting. And I realized that they do not have access to proper healthcare, in terms of the fact they're not even aware of certain things in the healthcare department that they need for themselves. Like something like as simple as protein. 40% of our population is vegetarian, and they do not realize that we need zero point 0.8 gram of protein per kg, which they are not getting because vegetarian diets usually do not get that. And they need protein supplementation for that. I understand that it is expensive, but the first step would be to create awareness about the need and then to create products which they can access. So I want to work in the healthcare industry to tackle such problems. Protein is just an example. There are definitely a lot more things that require better access and better awareness about healthcare products that are available to the people. So I want to work in the healthcare industry and I want to work in marketing in order to create awareness about these things and ultimately to lead to better availability of these healthcare products. To be able to do that, I believe MBA will actually help me because it will give me the skills that are required and the knowledge that is required. And I want to do this course at your institute because uh, uh, there is such esteemed faculty coming in through the institute. The curriculum is based off the Harvard Business School, which actually is an esteemed institute itself. There are guest lecturers coming in. There are practicals that are held, case studies, and research programs that are done, which will help me develop more insight into how things happen and would actually give me the skill set required to ultimately achieve my goal.
So let us know about your goals also.
So my goal in the short term is to actually work at a large company, maybe like an MNC in a pharmaceutical company, or even like an FMCG company catering to healthcare products like nutraceuticals or something like a sanitary pad, which do hold importance in the general public's health, and learn how this industry actually works. And eventually, once I have understood it, so my father already works in the industry, so I want to expand his line of work into these different sectors, which can impact a larger population based on what I have on the long term, based on what I have learned working in these large corporations.
According to you, who is the one person who has had a major impact on India?
One person who's had major impact on India. Um,
Okay.
the first name that comes to my mind is actually Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The fact that over the past few years he has established to build positive relations with so many countries like USA. Currently, he's working on improving relations with China as well, as we see with the Kanchenjunga program that has just started. ISRO has taken up very well with the program that he has initiated. There are satellites that have been launched recently. We have been able to achieve docking also in space. We are the fourth country to be able to do so. The GDP has risen very fast with it. Even with the current budget in terms of education, also he is trying his best to actually improve the education facilities, where he's increasing seats in medical colleges and IITs. He's expanding it so much. He is trying to increase foreign investment. He is trying to reduce import duties on the important medications coming in. So in those aspects, I believe that he has been a major impact in India.
So to have an impact, you don't need an MBA. Na? So if you want to do some work in social sector, in medical sector, you don't need an MBA for that.
I agree, you don't need an MBA, but in terms of the impact that I want to make, the MBA will provide me with the skill set required because I am not from the background. I have been doing science for all my life. So, MBA will sort of be like a fast track program for me. It will help me gain the expertise I need and will help me get into the industry and bring an impact faster than if I entered as a novice, knowing nothing and learning through time. What I would otherwise take 10 years to learn, MBA will help me learn it in 2 years.
You said that you had been a good student, but you came second in school.
Yes, sir.
What's the difference between coming second and coming first?
Honestly, it was just based on marks. The person who came first got a 99.8%. I got a 99.7%. Sorry, 97 point. She got a 98%. I got a 97.17%. It was just a difference of 1% of a mark. I said that I was second because it stands out as an achievement, but being studious does not mean that you have to top the class every time. Even if you get good enough marks and you
That,
get good enough knowledge, that is still being studious and being a dedicated student.
that is not my question. My question is, what is the difference between a topper and a person who gets second place?
Just a matter of a few marks, in my opinion. It and how you get those marks, the considering how narrow the difference was, could also be based on the elective subjects that she had and I had. could be on the basis of how the day went on the day of the exam. Maybe she was having a better day than I was. So there are different things that come into the picture.
I didn't ask you why you came second. I'm saying what's the difference between a topper and someone who comes second?
Someone who comes second is also a topper of sorts. It is still a rank ultimately.
But we always remember the gold medalist. Now we don't never remember the silver medal.
I agree. We always remember the gold medalist, but the difference between a gold medalist and the silver medalist is merely just the medal color, and not it is not a indication of the capabilities.
There has to be some difference. Otherwise, why would one be first and why would one be second?
So, because in our educational system, it is largely based out of marks that we get and not the holistic development of the person. That is why that difference does occur. That a gold medalist is someone who attained the maximum marks, and a silver medalist is someone who attained less than the maximum marks, but higher than the rest of the class. So that is
That's
the only
technically, but psychologically, don't you think that a topper mindset is a topper mindset? You have to give in maybe 5x effort to gain that 1x extra mark.
I mean,
Have that mind.
uh, based on my personal experience, the person who was the topper in my school put in the same amount of effort as I did. We were best friends at that time. So we actually studied together and everything as well. So I agree, there's a topper mindset that comes into the picture that I want to score the best. But uh, luckily, my school environment was not that competitive. We were always told that tests and exams are only for the purpose of you gaining knowledge. The fact that I stood second was on account of the fact that I could score those many marks, but that was not a testament to the knowledge that I had specifically, nor was it a testament for the knowledge that she had.
You didn't have maths from which standard?
11th standard onwards.
Up to 10th you had.
Yes, sir.
So you were out of touch with maths for almost 7 years.
Yes, sir.
How did you cope with the maths in CAT and what was your maths percentile?
So my math percentile in CAT was 98.7 percentile. To cope with it, it was a little difficult for me because I had gotten out of touch with it. But mostly it involved me making a formula sheet, going through the concepts again, and like revising the concepts again. If there was any question where I was being stuck, which I was not able to understand properly, I understood how things were happening, and then I went ahead with it. But a formula sheet was something that actually helped me a lot with the CAT exam.
But everyone says that CAT exam is a concept-based exam. You're talking of formula.
Even in concepts, you formulas are based out of concepts. So even in a concept-based exams, there has to be some formula that you are applying. You don't get time to actually uh, get derive the formula during the exam. It is a concept-based exam, but it is also a time-based exam. So had I had the time to derive formulas, then I would have sat and actually understood each and every It's not that I didn't understand concepts. Even learning formulas requires understanding of concepts. But if I had only sat based on understanding concepts, I wouldn't have had the time to complete questions.
If you had to redesign the whole process of admission in IIMs, what would you change?
Um, I would probably change the idea of a WAT into a group discussion. Because when you are discussing ideas, it is easier for you to bounce off of ideas and bring up new concepts. In a written exam, you are limited by your ideas alone. And in a real setup, it is not just you who is thinking and coming up with solutions. It is others who come up with discussions and ultimately come to a solution. So if you want to test the ability of a person to work in a group to come up with solutions, a group discussion would have probably been more uh, significant in that scenario, which is why I believe a group discussion instead of a written test could be a more apt way of conducting things.
And you are okay with the LRDA part of CAT?
I am weak with it. I'm not saying that I'm strong with the LRDI part, but I understand the importance of it. It is, while the questions might seem trivial, it is to understand what your ability would be to judge situations and come up with scenarios and find solutions to said scenarios. Um, uh,
Aptitude
it is some,
thing
sorry.
that is for an aptitude test,
Hmm.
the format LRDI, do you think it is relevant? It is okay.
In some scenarios, yes. So if there are, so for example, there are questions like where you are, if there are a ton of people sitting in front of you, and you have to arrange them in specific orders where two people are not willing to sit together or three people are not willing to sit together. So how many combination of ways you can arrange them in? While thinking of them as people might seem trivial, when it comes to a larger scale where you are talking about corporations and how mergers and acquisitions might work, for example, which company would be willing to work with which company and which company would be rival to each other. Say if you're working in a consultancy where you're actually thinking about raising revenues by merging, like we have nutraceuticals with Nestle and Dr. Reddy. Had their thoughts not aligned, that merger would not have happened. So to understand if it is possible or not, you require logical reasoning, and that is something that is being tested through the DILR process. So while the questions might seem trivial in a paper setup, it is to test your managerial abilities in the longer run.
Which company would you like to join post MBA?
I would prefer joining a pharmaceutical company working in different branches, something say like an Abbott, which works not only in pharmaceuticals but also in medical infrastructure, in medical appliances, raw materials. So preferably in a company like that, which is not solely pharmaceutical but along those lines in healthcare.
I don't think Abbott goes to any good school.
It does. It goes to IIM Kozhikode. I checked today.
Okay, you said that you have deep respect for Narendra Modi.
Yes, sir.
Why does he? Uh, why do people have extreme emotions regarding what he thinks?
Sorry, your voice was very muffled.
I'm saying that why is it that people have extreme emotions regarding his way of working and his way of doing things?
While he has been, the prime minister has been working for the betterment of our country, his thoughts and the way he presents himself might not come out as very secular. So while he is promoting things like the Mahakumbh and the Ayodhya Ram Mandir, some minorities seem to feel left out, which is something that should be addressed, which is something that the ruling party in general should address. Minorities, because India is a secular country, so everyone should have an equal say. And if minorities are feeling threatened, then that is something that needs to be changed about it.
But India was not secular at the time of independence, and that was added 2 to 3 decades later, and probably to garner votes.
But as of date, India is a secular country. The constitution does call India a secular country. And if there is, even if if they are minorities and if they are communities from different religious backgrounds, they do make up a large part of our population, contribute to our economy. So they should also be given a say. Even if they are citizens of India, they should not be discriminated based on religion in any sense whatsoever.
Anybody else has any questions to ask Sinda? Give a feedback to Snita, Vidhi, Manya, and Ayushi.
I think she was pretty clear with most of her answers. Uh, I think the tricky questions she uh, got confused a little, but otherwise, mostly it went well.
Which question, for example?
Uh, for the difference between first and second, and the formula sheet. So I think for the formula sheet, she could have just said, um, you should know which formula to apply for which concept, maybe things like that to neutralize the situation maybe a little. Yeah, I think other than that, she worked pretty well.
How did you feel, Snigdha?
So with the first and second wala question, I actually did not understand what the answer expected was. So that's why I was trying to give different answers, but like I was confused in that aspect. And all in all, other than that, I I don't know. I think it was average. It wasn't the best interview I've given.
I thought it was pretty decent. Maybe there is some bias because we have been doing this for a while now. But otherwise, I thought it was decent. Yeah, would Manya or Ayushi want